tries to understand exactly what these two orders mean for travelers from the 7 countries listed in President Trump's executive order.
The truth is, it's not a Muslim ban. There are 50 Muslim-majority countries in the world. This affects 7 of them. And it doesn't say, by the way, that no Muslims from those countries can come in. It says no one can come in except for a few classes of people, one of which is those that are persecuted for their religion, which, by the way, is important because under Obama's refugee program, less than 1% of the refugees from Syria were Christian or Yazidi. And most were Muslim males.
And again, the situation continues to go on as more flights are coming in this international terminal today. Back to you guys.
All right. She described it well, Laura, saying a fluid situation is exactly what the case is. Thanks, Laura.
And it is important to actually get, the facts. So what is the truth? Let's separate fact from fiction. Here to help us with that, retired Army Lieutenant Colonel Tony Schaefer. Tony, thanks for coming back. And I wonder, let's start with this question of whether or not Christians are prioritized over Muslims.
Well, clearly they're a minority, and frankly, as we talked about earlier, look, they're the first to either face being essentially sold off as slaves or death. I mean, this is one of the issues regarding asylum, regarding why we have this program to bring people in, these refugees, is the fact that people certainly are persecuted. The Christian minority within the region we're talking about, especially in Syria, the Assyrian Christians, Yazidis, I've talked to these folks, and they are literally being decimated. They're being removed from the face of the earth. So, of course, we should be looking at giving them preference on this.
Well, the other question then, too, probably the toughest one, is how do you separate the good people from the bad? Can refugees lie about being Christian?
I mean, that's an excellent point. I think this is what we got to fix. Look, you've got to be able to figure out a way to vet people. And this has been one of Mr. Trump's central points. We don't have a vetting process, so you can pretty much, as I said earlier, Ed or you or, Clayton could all come and just say, hey, I'm Christian, and they wish to accept that. So you got to present some level of proof. There's something is saying that you are now. So I think this is where we have to be accepting of people wanting this status, but you got to vet them as well. You can't simply accept things on face value.
Right. Another question is to how many will be allowed in? Is there a cap on the number of refugees being allowed in?
Well, there always has been a cap. We've never had unlimited. This is where Angela Merkel got in trouble. The unlimited, unmitigated migration of individuals into Germany. No, we have a cap. Under George Bush, it was something under 50,000. I think it was 26,000 one year. Under President Obama, it went up to 70. And now, under President Trump, we're back to 50. And this is all well documented. This is something that we have had in place as a nation for decades. So this is nothing new. This is simply a specification of the law which currently exists. And Mr. Trump's gone with 50,000, which is, I think, still pretty high.
How did the president come up with the 7 countries included in the ban?
Yeah, great question. Now, again, this is going back to legislation President Obama signed into law in December of 2015, which is essentially an act sent over by Congress limiting the number of individuals coming from, and individuals, not religious individuals, any individual coming from these war-torn countries. I've used the analogy, and then, by the way, it was a little bit more specified in February of 2016. Frankly, I think we ought to add Saudi Arabia and a couple other countries to that list, but we're just going with what President Obama already signed in.
Yeah. Tony, it's interesting, though, how the media is framing this. As a tweet from the BBC, I read it earlier. Quote, transgender Iraqi woman describes how her dreams were shattered when the president signed immigration executive order. Since when has an American president, Democrat or Republican, since when has their mission been to make sure the dreams of a transgender Iraqi woman are met? Where's that in the job description?
Well, it's not. And look, let's be clear on this. President Carter excluded Iranians for a good long time during the Iranian hostage crisis. President Obama himself, when we talked about the implementation of this law back in 2015, or December 2015, 2016, he actually implemented a ban as well of travel. So this is not new. What is new is the media essentially acting irresponsibly, putting out completely false and erroneous information. And I've used an analogy earlier. Look, if during World War II we were at war with Germany, with the Nazis, during that time you would not allow for for unmitigated migration of Nazis into the United States or England, going back to the BBC example. So we're at war in some form. As a matter of fact, you guys just reported this morning, we lost one of our special operations folks in Yemen. Yemen's one of those countries. We are at war. This is about security. It's not about religion.
And to your point about being at war, Afghanistan, Saudi Arabia could be coming to this list soon. Colonel, great to see you.
Pakistan.
You need to think about it. Pakistan, too. Absolutely.
That's why we have you here this morning, breaking it down.
Thanks.
Thank you, Tony.
Thanks, folks.
President Trump also working to rebuild our military. We're going to talk to retired 4-star General Jack